Hey there, super friends. It's Joey with Last Point Gaming. Today is Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. Yeah, you can probably hear it. Not feeling so great. There was no episode yesterday or Friday. Friday because I was coming from the other office and I really didn't have much to talk about. So I figured it would be a longer episode full of more bitching about being lost or some jerk cutting me off on the highway, plus super poor sound quality because I'm sure I would have forgot to put my window up before getting on the highway without any, real decent content, so I decided to cut it. Yesterday, I decided to not even bother recording. Yesterday I did record an episode. It was supposed to be supportive and whatnot, and I don't know, it's kind of a delicate thing, so just by the time I'd finished recording and I got home and I really thought about it, I'm this really runs the risks of this being another one of those times where I'm trying to be nice and supportive and I'm accidentally an asshole, but in a super big way. So I decided to just can it. So here we are. First and foremost, congratulations, Jody motherfucking Keith, the Goonfather himself. He won GP Memphis this past weekend. And that's fucking awesome. Even if you haven't been around very long, I'm sure I've mentioned what a great guy I think Jody Keith is. So I'm super excited to see him take it down. As far as I understand, there still wasn't video coverage of GP Memphis. Maybe there was. I don't know. I'll have to go look. No, because you know what? Todd Anderson mentioned today watching him. Oh, no, it was a feature match in Dallas, I think. I don't know. But in any case, he won GP, so that's just fucking awesome. And so, I'm just really happy for him. I'm sorry. Not only am I not feeling great, but Girly McBabyface had a rough night last night. She doesn't have many of them, thankfully, but man, do they hit hard. Husband and I are kind of old now. So, I'm a little extra spacey today. Oh, also, tomorrow there may not be an episode because, I may not be going to work in general as they've already closed down the local government offices, both state and federal. And my employer may decide that it's cheaper to give me a day off than, train my replacement. Or even if I do go to work, depending on how shitty the road conditions are when I go to head home, if I need to focus on driving and whatnot, I will spare you the 20-minute episode of me basically trying not to die. So, weekend gaming report, because I usually do that on Mondays. Went 3-1 at F&M. I lost to Vintage, playing the modern version of the deck he won that Vintage World Championship with, which would be Dredge. I took a game off of him. Definitely made some misplays. Probably kept a not good hand against him game 3. Game 1, I definitely kept a not good hand against Dredge, but of course I didn't know what I was playing against, so I kept a reasonable hand. Just happened to be pretty shitty against Dredge. At the end of the match, he walked through some places where he identified decisions that he didn't think were optimal, because he's a nice guy like that, so that's cool. Got to learn some things. I beat a Valakut deck. Granted, I'm fairly certain that was one of the first few reps that player has put in with the Valakut deck, and I'm not saying that to be an ass. He mentioned that he was new to the Valakut deck and needs to get better at just knowing how many mountains are in the deck and that kind of thing. So I didn't beat a well-seasoned Valakut player, but I'm still taking it, man, because, man, do I always lose to Valakut. I just don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do. Like, honestly. I don't know. I can't name Mountain with Meddling Mage. I wish I could, but I can't. So, you know, and once they get the Valakuts down, because they have enough little, like, weenie shit going on to keep your stuff at bay. You only got so many Meddling Mages and Freebooters and Sin Collectors. Yeah, I just don't even know what I'm supposed to do against that deck. It's really frustrating, actually. And beat Jeskai control and blue-white control rounds 3 and 4, which I'm generally not great at playing against control. Like, it's just not my strong suit. Even, like, I've been told that humans is supposed to be or blue-white control is supposed to be a really favorable matchup for humans. I lose to it a lot. I don't know how people think that's a really good matchup, because, like, sure, at one time when, you know, they only ran one board wipe, and you could name it with Meddling Mage, or, like, you know, the first Meddling Mage you play, you name Supreme Verdict. But since, you know, humans became a contender, they diversified their board wipes to prevent that problem. So, yeah, I don't know how it's supposed to be, like, you know, this super favorable matchup, but apparently it is, but I lose to it all the time. But, beat Jeskai. I'm pretty happy with that. Standard Showdown, I went 2-1. We had exactly 8 players, so we got to fire at regular with 3 rounds. Lost to Mono Blue. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm supposed to play around that deck. It doesn't matter what I play against that deck. I have a rough time, because you can't play against it like you do an aggro deck. You can't play against it like you do a control deck. It's some weird blending of the two. Because they're calling it Mono Blue aggro, and I don't know if that's, like, so more players are like, oh yeah, I know what that means. Because, you know, it really is a tempo deck. And I don't know if, like, fewer players understand what a tempo deck is, because they're not often, you don't see them a lot in Standard, honestly. Not good ones, anyway. You know, viable. So I don't know if, like, aggro is just a more natural archetype to players, that they understand it better, or what. It's definitely a tempo deck, and, you know, because you don't see good tempo decks very often, it feels like a whole different play skill set to play against them. And yeah, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. It doesn't matter if I'm playing mid-range, if I'm playing mono red. And you know what? Look, Ross Merriam, I think you're, you know, bang up Magic player and all. I like your articles. You know, enjoy your personality, but screw you, dude. Mono red's fine. It's fine. It's not unplayable. Take that back. It is definitely not the best choice of decks in the meta. It was in the early weeks of this format, because aggro is always good the first couple weeks of a new format. You know, especially so if a rotation was involved, but even without rotation, just a mono red, what does your deck do? Sets you on fire. Like, that's all it does. Usually, well, not necessarily mono red, but in this instance, we happen to have pretty good tool set for mono red. It was just a good deck the first couple weeks while everybody was figuring out these stronger, better interactions. Because, yeah, mono red's kind of a one-trick pony. It does one thing. And if your opponent can find a way to make that one thing either not happen or be less effective, so either shutting down your burn somehow or gaining life, their creatures outclass yours, like, uncontested, unquestioned. You're playing, your biggest dude is a 3/3. Oh, I'm sorry, we discovered today, apparently Goblin Chain Whirler is a female character. So, your biggest woman, goblin woman, I don't know, is a 3/3. Everything else is, tiny. She at least has the benefit of first strike, but even still, like, you get outclassed, just awful. So you get to the point where you're really not pushing any creature damage through, and if you can't close it out with burn, or they can gain, like, 2 triggers on a Wild Growth Walker is usually enough to kind of do you in. But it is good in the beginning of the format when everybody's like, oh, I like Golgari, and I like Crassus. How do I make these all work together? And yeah, no, Sultai mid-range, is that what we're calling it? I like Golgari Blue, personally. Just because it pretty much is the Golgari mid-range deck from the previous format, with some blue splash for Crassus, and apparently Hostage Taker, also a couple counter spells in the sideboard. Because, if you're going to run blue, why not? But wanting to use Crassus is what had that deck kind of evolve. And at first, yeah, it's going to be clunky, and you're going to have to figure out, like, how to build the mana base appropriately and everything. How do you balance the colors, and what dual colored lands do you use and all that. And during this transition period is when decks like Mono Red just wreck fucking house, because they don't need to worry about their mana base. What's your mana base? 20 mountains. Oh, alright. Yeah, that works. But as we get deeper in the format, Mono Red's going to be less and less good. It's just the nature of it. And that's why a deck like Mono Blue, quote-unquote aggro, I made little bunny ears. Y'all can't see it, but I did. That's why it has so much more reach, is because it's not a straight-up typical aggro deck. It's got, just a couple control elements, just enough to really lock in that early game setup. And then, so it has really good early game. It has a very decent mid game, and even late game. The Tempest Gens are just fucking huge. What are you gonna do with that? So, that's why a deck like that is doing better, even though people are still calling it an aggro deck. But yeah, as the format marches on, you'll see more mid-range combo control decks solidify and push out linear aggro decks more and more. That they can't compete. Whoa, there's crap in the highway. They can't compete with what these other more powerful decks are doing. So, but I don't care. Mono Red's still alright. Where was I going with that? Alright, so talked about what I did this weekend, and talked about Jerry Keith, because he's awesome. I'm really sad there's going to be no Versus Live on Thursday, but I'm happy, because the reason that is, well, they're down to 2 players on Versus Live. It is the Todd and Ross show, and they cycle directors. Director Dan is my favorite, personally. But the reason they're not doing a Thursday show is because Ross is qualified for the first ever Mythic Championship, which seems to be the tournament that was formerly known as the Pro Tour. So, one of their two players is just not available for it. Yeah, if you're curious, if you watch Versus Live, because people, like, it's been at least weeks, maybe multiple months now. I'm not really sure, because, time is a slippery thing. But Brad Nelson moved away from Roanoke, Virginia. So he's no longer on the Versus series. He does still write for Star City Games, though. So, yeah. Todd can't just goldfish for 3 hours and, I guess, expect people to watch it. I don't know. Ooh, maybe he'll live stream during the normal Versus block. That would be awesome. Because, yeah, seriously, a lot of these streams, like, really do perk up my day at work, just listening to them. Even if I, like, don't have an opportunity to really interact, just, like, hearing it through my headphones while I'm, dealing with crap at work. Just makes my day go better and faster. Speaking of streamers, another kind of sad note, but good for him. Taryn with MTGO Traders is no longer producing video content with MTGO Traders. He's still working with them. He's more of a behind-the-scenes role with them now. I'm not entirely, positive what happened, just from weaving together different contexts from things he's tweeted out. Looks like he may have taken a full-time job with, some other company. Yeah, his baby is 6 months, 9 months old, something like that. Less than a year, but, more than itty-bitty. So, he took on a position elsewhere, which is sad. I like listening to him stream during the day, too. Also, there's, some streamer wars going on tomorrow, I guess. Maybe, possibly. I'm not really positive. Jim Davis was talking about it, and I probably should have been paying more attention. But you may want to, keep checking up on your Twitter, or make sure your notifications are turned on for your favorite streamers on Twitch. Because it sounds like there's some big streamer event tomorrow. I want to say it's Twitch Rivals. I think it's tomorrow. Yeah. I only kind of know things. Alright. Oh, by the way, the deck I went to one with at Standard Showdown is still mono red. Y'all know what you're talking about, Ross. Though I am a little torn on who to, want to win the Mythic Championship. One of my locals, Brew, he is just one of those players that, he always seems to be playing a deck that he came up with to combat the, top performing decks in the meta. So that is why he will be Brew. He is also going to be at the Mythic Championship, and this is the first one he's qualified for. He qualified through the last ever string of PPTQ and RPTQ. So I'm definitely rooting for him. And yeah, Ross is playing that. I'm sure a bunch of other players that I like are playing in the Mythic Championship, and I'm just not wholly aware of them. I wonder if MPL players automatically get invited to that. I would imagine. I mean, that would make sense, right? In which case, Brad Nelson should be there too. I think so. Yeah, I think that's why Jerry Thompson is doing the article series. Oh, shit. I was going to talk about that too. I guess I'll talk about that the next recording, because I'm pulling up on the house now. Jerry Thompson's doing an article series on the Star City Games Select side, which is the free article side, with kind of brief profiles on all of the MPL players. So that's pretty cool. The first article included himself. Biggest note there is one of the sections he's doing on each of the players is what they're known for. And his is like, I don't know, I guess my stupid hair or something. No. What Jerry Thompson is most known for, according to everybody I've ever talked about him with, is everybody I know that has ever met the guy, including myself, thinks he is the nicest guy on the fucking planet. He's really a treasure to the community, and just, if you ever see him at an event and you're all like, oh man, I'm shy or whatever, totally recommend you go talk to him, because he is just super friendly and super, super nice and really easy to talk to. So, every pro I've ever met has always been polite. In the case of Owen Turtenwald, he was very polite. Not extremely warm, but very polite. But everybody else, like, just real friendly and everything. But even all of them being nice and friendly just can't compare to how incredibly enthusiastic and just sweet Jerry Thompson is. So if you ever see him at an event, I would recommend don't be shy. Walk up to him, say hello, because he's just seriously the nicest guy on the planet, I'm pretty sure. But that all being said, I'm sitting in the driveway and my dog's getting all ticked off, so I gotta go. As always, if you made it this far with me, thank you very much for listening, and hopefully I'll talk to y'all tomorrow, but if not, probably on Thursday.